Welcome to another episode of Surgeons' Lives. I'm your host, John Monson. My guest today is Joep Knol. Joep is Dutch by background, but works in Belgium, where he has indeed worked for a number of years. I've known him for many years now to be one of the great surgical innovators who views surgical anatomy in a different way to most people. He's perhaps best known for setting up the iLapp Foundation, and his contributions to surgical education and teaching operative skills are really quite remarkable. He spends some time in the ERCAD institutes and on a regular basis travels to Sicily to operate, where he has done for a number of years. So, without further ado, let's listen to what he has to say as he talks to us during a brief visit in Portugal. I'm John Monson, and this is Surgeons' Lives.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm actually in a hotel in Portugal, so it looks more fancy than my house, actually. No, this is not the real thing, actually. But I'm visiting Bill Heald and Amjad Parfait tomorrow, but this was the best time to meet, actually.
No, it's fine, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you've seen any of the other podcasts that we've done, but it's a new series called Surgeons' Lives.
Yes.
Which is obviously about the surgeon and their lives, but as much as anything else, it's about the other stuff that matters
Yes,
beyond
I
surgery.
understand. I've seen the last one, Sonia.
Oh yeah,
what's her name? Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah,
part of it. No, it was very interesting. I didn't know her, actually, so it was very interesting to learn more about her.
Yeah, there's 6 or 7 of them now we've done, and
yeah, cool.
It's interesting that I've done it really because I want to let people understand in more detail that there's more to surgeons than just the lecture they give.
Yes, absolutely.
And
that's what I liked when we were in Colombia. With the last session of lectures was really interesting, I think. Yes.
So what I normally do, and I'll do it with you, is to ask you to give us a little short version of your life and career, starting with the words "I was born in," which doesn't mean your age. It means where you were born.
Okay. Oh, perfect.
So
you started already now? No.
Yeah.
Oh, you started already. Okay. No.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I didn't get it yet. I maybe I have to excuse myself a little bit for my English. All the people you interviewed are, of course, a kind of native English or American. So,
not at all.
If I say something really stupid, you have to correct me, John. No,
I
was.
We can always blame the language. I interviewed Julio Mayal just a few weeks ago, and he made the same comment as I said. His
perfect.
Way better than my Spanish, that's for sure.
I feel comfortable when looking at you, and I feel relaxed, so it's no problem actually. No, no, I was born in the Netherlands. I think Dutch people are known for their height, so I'm a typical Dutch guy. I was born in Nijmegen, and Nijmegen is a city at the eastern part of the Netherlands, close to the German border. Nijmegen is a very nice city. It's famous for a war movie, A Bridge Too Far, where the people that had to flee the Netherlands were dropped at the wrong bridge. So they were a bridge too far dropped, actually. So it's famous for that movie. It's a pretty big city. It's the oldest city, actually, in the Netherlands.
Oh.
And I was born, actually, in a very good family with my father and mother. I had one sister. I still have one sister. My father was more kind of a businessman, but he was always involved in medical equipment, medical devices, medical companies, mainly concerned or involving heart surgery or cardiology. So like pacemakers for Vitatron, pacemakers for heart rhythm. And my mother was actually very artistic. My mother was an artist. She gave some lessons, and And my sister was very artistic too. So my sister at the end became an architect, and she moved to South Africa. So
Oh,
she lives in South Africa. And but they are really the artistic part of the family. So when my mother had to teach some people, the things I could make were like for a like average grade, and the things that my sister made was like an example for the higher grade. So I'm kind of like the guy with two rights or two left hands, whatever you want to call it, you know. But a little bit of an artistic part is still in me, I think. I had a beautiful, happy youth. I did a lot of sports, which you might not tell now anymore. But and the strange thing, although I started to tell you that I'm a typical Dutch guy,
mhm.
is that I was very small. I was a very tiny guy. So when we had athletics or gymnastics in school, we had to go from the highest, the tallest guys to the tiny little guys. I had just one guy on my right side actually. So I was a very tiny little guy, and I played a lot of soccer, and I was pretty talented. That's what they said, but I was too small as a goalkeeper. I was a goalkeeper.
Goalkeeper, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was a goalkeeper. So I have beautiful pictures. I will send to you for that. But they were thinking about giving me growing hormones because I was too tiny to become a very good goalkeeper. So I'm very lucky that my parents were very reasonable and had a very brilliant mind not to give me growing hormones, because then I wouldn't fit into a AOR anymore, I think. So I played a lot of soccer. I did a lot of sports. Um,
And you were the kid that had the poster of Johann Cruyff on your bedroom wall.
yes, yes, yes. I'm a really big fan of Johan Cruyff. I'm a really big Ajax fan. And that's for several reasons. Ajax is at the other part of the Netherlands, in the western part, in the city
Yeah.
of Amsterdam, and the capital city. But I mean, the jerseys are beautiful, like white and red stripes. I mean, they have the god, Ajax as an emblem, on the chest. So it's
Mhm.
it's it's amazing. And Johan was, to my opinion, but of course, after this, not too many people will watch your podcast anymore, probably. But I think he was the best soccer player ever. Is very difficult to say, but he was very, very smart. He was really a guy who learned to play soccer on the streets. He was not very educated, but he did a lot of things afterwards. He helped people with a handicap to get into sports. He has around the world a lot of Cruyff courts, we call it. I think there are like 200 or more than 200 Cruyff courts around the world, for children to go out and leave their computer inside and
Yeah.
play
Yeah.
outside, play soccer or play anything else. So he was a kind of much more than a soccer player, although he was very good in
He was
soccer.
he
So
was credited with developing the so-called total football.
yes, yes, he was like together with Rinus Michels. Actually, he was the guy who started with to defend after an attack right away and have wing
Yeah.
backs. And of course, that's why I love Ajax, actually, because I think when you are a professional soccer player and you get a lot of money, you have to play attractive football.
Yeah.
Just to say you have the best defense in the world. I mean, that's not enough for me. I want to have fun when I go
So
to a
there you
game.
were, a kid who was good at football, but maybe not quite good enough. And you ended
I
up doing medicine. But so did the medicine just come from your dad's interest, or what was your mentor, your inspiration for that?
yeah, I definitely think my father played a role in choosing medicine, and that's also why I think I wanted to become a heart surgeon. I never wanted to become a doctor. I only wanted to become a surgeon. Actually, I just I thought it was a lot of wasting time to do like medical school, and I couldn't really understand why not to start with surgery right away. But now I get it, of course, after all those years. But I was very much interested in cardiac surgery, and I did in my residency a lot of cardiac surgery as well. But then I met some people who really inspired me, and I switched completely from cardiac surgery into first kind of abdominal general surgery, and then into colorectal surgery. Yeah, I think definitely that my father played an important role in that.
You went to medical school. I mean, you did all of your surgical training in the Low Countries, Holland and Belgium, or all in Belgium?
Well, actually, my medical school was completely in Belgium. There was a kind of a lottery or limited amount of places in the Netherlands, so I had to choose either to do something different than medical school for a year or for 2 years,
Yeah.
and then try again, or move to Belgium. And so I applied for the University of Leuven, which was something I had to adapt to because a Dutch guy going to Belgium, it's a big difference between Dutch people and Belgian people. The Belgian people think that the Dutch people are more loud, have bad eat habits, are too tall, and so I think
Well, that's got to
I
come
think
from the mayonnaise on the French fries is not good. It's not a good look.
the mayonnaise on the mayonnaise on the French fries. We have bitter balls. I don't know if you have ever eaten bitter balls. It's like a small little bowl with a crust around it, some meat inside, and
Yeah.
a real Dutch people, they really love it. If you go visit a hospital in the Netherlands for lunch, you get bitter balls and karnemelk. Karnemelk is kind of a sour milk, but I really don't like. But they all eat it, and probably that's why they're so tall, together with a cheese and milk, of course. All the proteins.
So
But I had to adapt a little bit. Sorry.
professionally, did you ever go back to Holland, or did you move to Belgium for medical school, and have you been there ever since, basically?
Well, at the end, when I finished my medical school, and when I was already a resident, Professor Pennings, who was the head of abdominal surgery at that time, Freddie Pennings, was a brilliant guy, very very nice guy. He sent me to Amsterdam to go to the Dutch Cancer Institute to learn how to do debulking surgery. And he said, we have to start up high pack in debulking surgery and go there for like 3 months and come back. So that's the only period I went back to the Netherlands. Of course, I also did my thesis defense around 4 years ago in Amsterdam. So that was like a joint thesis between Belgium and Amsterdam. So that's the only thing I did besides observing or preparing. Yes, absolutely.
So do the Belgians consider you Belgian or Dutch?
I think I'm like the ugly duck. I don't belong to either of them because everybody hears that I'm not. So the Belgians say you're too Dutch, and Dutch people say you have a very soft accent. So and so even my wife is Belgian, and so she lives in the house. So my children speak more Belgian dialect than me, but of course the language is the same. It's just like kind of a dialect. You can hear the difference. Yes,
I
yes.
know for sure. And so
But Leuven is beautiful. I think
yeah.
you've been in Leuven. Leuven is a beautiful, beautiful city. So I had a fantastic student time. A beautiful, safe city to do medical school, actually.
And you became a colorectal surgeon, and
Yes,
in
yes,
colorectal surgery, or indeed in any other form of surgery, apart from Freddie Penix, did you
yes.
have mentors who influenced what you were doing?
Well, I was very lucky when I was a young resident because I was in another part of Belgium, in the city of Kortrijk, and there was one older surgeon who was already almost retiring. He was called Paul Hinnekes, and Paul Hinnekes did a fellowship of 2 years in Mayo Clinic in Rochester, and his younger surgeon, who was called Frankie van Steenkist, was taken to Mayo Clinic just to observe brilliant surgeons to do surgery. I was very lucky. So I was there as a young resident for like 6 months, and they said to me, we have some kind of an offer, and so we just ask you to come to Mayo Clinic for a week. We go to Minneapolis afterwards to have the course from who was there,
And Goldberg and
Goldberg,
Rob
Madoff,
Adams,
all very brilliant people who I met there. And so I was very lucky, and they took me along, and they even paid for my trip. And after that, after my first trip, I kind of decided that I wanted to go back and see Santa Nivedfongs and Roger Dojois, Eric Dojois, Heidi Nielsen. So there were pretty big names, big names for me. And so those two teachers from the other side of the country really inspired me. And back in Leuven, of course, Freddie Pennings and Andre Dora, I owe much to him because he's a very, very brilliant surgeon. And we got along very well, and I learned a lot from him as well. So I think those are really the people that changed me, together with observing other people in other countries afterwards, doing colorectal surgery. Yes.
You moved to your current job not that many years ago.
No, I stayed in the university hospital for around 3 years as a junior staff member. We had a very busy time, so I was not really allowed to go abroad to a kind of fellowship because we had a lot of work. And then I worked in another big hospital in the city of Hasselt for the last 10 years, and now I moved to the city of Genk, who was pretty close, so I could stay in my own house, but it's the other direction for like 20 minutes. So I stayed in Belgium, and I think we have a very good hospital that really wants to improve and to really specialize and have really like a good department of colorectal surgery, which I'm the chief of a small department, I have to be honest.
So just for people around the world to get an understanding, tell us about the high level concept of economics and salaries and who earns what and how do you make your money in Belgium? Is it private practice? Is it state? Does the big boss get all the money? Does the junior get none? How does it work, as you progress through your...
I think it's a big difference between really full-time university or outside of the university. If you are working in the university, it's like a fixed salary.
Yeah.
For all staff members, maybe if you're a little bit older, you get a little bit more, or if you're chief of a department, you get a little bit more, or when you are in the committees, you get a little bit more, but it's kind of fixed. The system in Belgium is if you work outside of the university, you get paid per procedure. So every procedure has a number. So a rectum is more than a colon, and so it depends on how much you work. Actually, if you have a very nice practice, you work pretty hard, but you have a very good salary, and I think that's very good. We don't have a system like in England with like an NHS and then a private practice. We have every patient has a very decent insurance in Belgium, but you can add your insurance to have a private room or have some facilities, but it's not only for the rich people. Everybody has like a very nice, a good insurance, and everybody can have decent healthcare. But you can really work including the weekend, you earn a lot of money. But of course, you have to kind of balance that between earning a lot of money and have a decent life. So
sure. But
that's how it works in Belgium.
So surgeons in Belgium do okay financially.
Yeah, I think they do. They do pretty well. I think, yes. I think, and everybody has like a good salary, and some people have like a bit more. I think, yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Of course, it depends on the surgery. If you're don't know in the US, if you're like a bariatric surgeon, and you like a gastric bypass, it's the same kind of money as a colon. So, but if you mobilize the splenic flexure to have no tension or no traction, and you have your neighbor doing a gastric bypass in 45 minutes, it's passion, not the money. The money is not most important, of course.
So on that very point of passion, what became your passion in, you're known around the world for, iLapp and technology and very cool videos of TME and colorizing aspects, but that's like most overnight sensations, they'd been working at it for a decade, before they became an overnight
Right.
sensation. So, what is your passion in surgery?
I I I think I have many passions. I first, of all, I want to do well for my patients. That's the first priority. So that's why I want to be updated and talk to other people that are very experienced. And by traveling and by meeting people and seeing other people's presentations or observing, like I do tomorrow with Amjad in Portugal, I think you have to be updated, and you cannot stay in your own hospital and not go abroad or to conferences. So that's one. I think because I was inspired by the people from Mayo Clinic and my former surgeons, I want to be a good teacher. And I think that's a very difficult job. I think you can be a very good surgeon, but a very lousy teacher. So I
Yeah.
try to be a good teacher. And then I try to educate with iLapp surgery, with presentations, with like crazy stuff. I try to be a little bit of artistic with my 3D animations, with my illustrations, and I met a lot of passionate people. I met a girl who's called Stephanie Philipparts, and she's so nice to me, and because of me, she has a lot of work. And if I have one drawing she has to make, she really says, just send it to me. I do it overnight or whatever. If I'm traveling to the States or somewhere, before I leave the airport, I say, Stephanie, can you change something to it? And then I arrive, and she of course changed the illustration a little. So I try to be a good surgeon. I try to educate. I try to be innovative, actually, and I like to travel, because traveling is enriching to me, not only for work but also for my family. I try to. I have 3 children. I didn't tell you before. I have 3 children. I have 2 boys, or grown-ups, adults almost, and a girl of 17. And I try to teach them 2 things, or actually 3 things. Really to do something that's really your passion. Try to find your passion. Don't be scared of anybody, and
Yeah.
don't be scared of situations if you can. And try to make the best of it, and try to travel as much as you can, because I think buying something very expensive is very cool for some time, but to travel and meet people and see new stuff, I think that really enriches you. So I try to give that to my children, actually. Yeah.
Mm. And so you've been at the forefront of, for example, just to focus a little on the colorectal side of things, you've been at the forefront of type
Mm-hmm.
2B, which
Right.
came from nothing and rose all the way up, and has now kind of faded away, not to the bottom, but certainly not as a hot topic as it was. Do you want to predict for
Absolutely.
me where it's going to be in 10 years from now? Will we have stopped talking about it, or will we still be doing it, do you think?
That's a good question. Of
Yeah,
course,
sure.
yeah, of course. The discussion seems to be, and I have a very beautiful slide of 2, how do you say it, toreadors, like fighting a bull, and says, I sent you that beautiful slide, and so there's like you kind of either a tatmiophile or a robotophile.
Hmm.
And I love robotics, and I got into robotics pretty late, kind of after TATME, TATME. But I still think that many surgeons are still touching the tumor site, are still struggling with their stapler and compensate and staple it vertically. I think the stapler, whatever stapler you use, is like 1.2 centimeters wide. So you need some distance from the tumor to have a safe margin. I think because we are like in the TNT era, people get a lot of chemo radiation, or chemo radiation, or whatever you want to call it. Sometimes we have very small scars, and you want to see the distal margin. So I think it should have kind of be centralized, I live in a small country of Belgium. Maybe only like 2 or 3 centers in the whole country of Belgium should do for very extreme low lesions when you only have sometimes a scar, do TATME or TATME, and the rest, if you can afford it, or when a hospital can afford it, will be, I think, robotics in the future. But
Yeah.
I gave a online webinar yesterday for surgeons for Egypt, and none of them had a robot. So I think we're kind of spoiled with all beautiful robots. And so I think for extreme lesions in the Western countries and in some other countries where you can afford a robot, I think it will stay around, but very selectively, I think, to answer your question, actually. But the big thing is, because I have that slide with that door, the big fight is not, who's the best or who's the biggest, or, we look at shortcomings instead of, plus or advantages of both techniques. So I feel privileged that I can do both, actually. I can change my technique,
Yeah, and of course, when laparoscopy started, everybody said, the problem if in developing countries they can't afford the laparoscope.
Right. Yes.
It's always been the case that developing countries can't afford modern technology because whatever that modern technology is, ranging from antibiotics to robots, it's always been the case that the developing country is behind, what the latest and greatest is. And,
Absolutely.
What we do at the cutting edge, changes the lives of, handfuls of patients compared to, what, people like Bill Gates are trying to do with, anti-malaria, et cetera, et cetera, so it really makes a very small difference, but it doesn't matter. You still somebody has to do the cutting edge stuff. So what happens?
Also, John, I think when you do robotic rectal cancer surgery, you also have to go through a learning curve to be as good as some very big experts you see videos of. If you do 15 rectums a year, what's the benefit of the robot? I mean, I don't know. It's a difficult discussion.
Well, and
of course.
the number of rectal cancer operations is dropping in the United States dramatically with
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean it's really
absolutely.
And there is a view that says rectal cancer, colorectal cancer, is a medical disease, and I would imagine that. I would imagine there's some truth to that. We're seeing now patients with checkpoint inhibitors having their rectal cancer cured.
Right.
So
yes.
it's interesting as to the young surgeon starting today. Will they be operating on rectal cancer 25 years from now? I suspect not. I think they'll still be operating on Crohn's disease, but
right.
But I suspect not in rectal cancer. Only time will tell. So
it's going very fast, right? I mean, the evolution is very fast now. It's really
suddenly
interesting and challenging, but threatening a little bit as well. As a surgeon, of course. So
for sure, yeah. I mean, 100 years to learn how to do a TME, and then in the last 10 years, the world has changed dramatically.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, when you switch the lights out and go home, you have your 3 kids and your family, etc.
Yes.
One of my early interviews was with Jeff Matthews in Chicago, who's just released his latest EP of rock music.
Okay.
I interviewed Eric Pauly, who is an interventional gastroenterologist. He's a huge cheese fanatic, etc. So, is there something that Joep does when he leaves work?
Oh yeah, I try to spend as much time as I care of my family, and that takes a lot of time. But my children are 21, 19, and 17 now, so I get more and more time over the years. I think I am pretty lucky that I'm also operating in Italy 4 days a month.
Yeah.
With a very good friend, Professor Sergio Castorina, and that's a different world. That's a different world. I fly in on a Thursday, and then we eat spaghetti or we eat a pasta at the seaside. And then the first time was very funny. So the first time I came there, I said to Sergio, Sergio said to me, what time do you want to start tomorrow operating? I said, Sergio, maybe like 8 o'clock. He said, Joep, it's impossible, 8 o'clock is impossible. I said, Sergio, what about 9 o'clock? He said, no, it's not impossible, it's difficult. So let's start at 10, he said. So he decided already. So we always drive in at 10 and we drink an espresso. And then we operate pretty late till like 8 o'clock with a very nice pasta lunch. And I'm kind of looking for a smaller house there now, because we agreed on the fact that I will come there for many, many years to come. Like there's a French professor that comes there now for 23 years who operated with his father. It's like a family hospital. And although we have only 6 ORs, and it's amazing. And the nurses, they only speak Italian. So I try to, in my free time, I try to speak Italian and become a little bit better on that, but piano, just slowly. I like nice cars like you, but I never was that good. So I like to drive my car, and I try to do a little bit padel, the padel sport, and very little bit. And I try to play some golf, but it takes a lot of time. So I try to do some holes, and then I go home tired, and and I love to listen to music, but I played some guitar, but I stopped for a while. So maybe if my children go or studying, I try to play my guitar, Spanish guitar actually. It's an acoustic Spanish guitar, it's not electric. But it's like training my fingers, a little bit. And I like to travel, wherever.
Sure. Well, I'm fairly sure that in Sicily they would benefit from having an older Irish surgeon come, sometimes. It's just
you should definitely come. But it's very funny, I was operating there, and there was a very good surgeon who operated a young guy many years ago, and he had like a subtotal colectomy, ileorectal anastomosis, and he developed a rectal cancer in his rectal stump. And in another hospital, they did an open exploration, and they stopped. They said, it's impossible. And then they said, maybe because they don't have like specialized colorectal surgeons in Sicily. Like a few do a lot of colorectal surgery, but not really specialized. So they said, maybe it's worth it to open up the guy again, because the guy was only 51 years old. And so we opened him, and the other surgeon came to visit, and he was watching the surgery. And there was like a big mass of small bowel we had to go through before we even got to the rectum. So I told the professor, my friend Sergio, I said, the next 15 minutes is going to bleed, because I have to take out some small bowel, and so it will bleed a bit. And so the other guy was the visiting guy, but didn't speak any Italian. He was watching it, and indeed it started to bleed. And the guy said, Sergio, alla vena cava, he said to me. He kind of panicked because he thought it was in the vena cava. So because I predicted it, my professor said, no, just, relax, piano. And we got it out, and the guy was really friendly, very nice. And we did that like 4 or 5 weeks ago. And my last visit last week, I got a big fish. I got a fish like this from the guy. He gave a present, it was like a big fish. And we had a restaurant making it for us with all the residents there. So we had like a big celebration, because the present was like a big fish. They caught the same day. So it's a different world, but it brings me to a humble world, and without any robotics, and people become kind of your family. If there's like a family event, sure. The professor of surgery, Sergio, has 4 children, and we're kind of with the family. So we always go out. We never eat at home. We always go
And this
Uh,
is in
crazy good food.
Palermo. It's in Palermo.
This is in Catania, city of
Oh,
Catania.
Catania.
It's a private practice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very different world.
Yeah, yeah.
And I go there back in summer, and if I go summer, the professor has so many friends, maybe patients, I don't know, maybe other people. They drive me around and give me a boat, and they give me whatever I want for kind of a week. So beautiful
Treat you
life,
like
just 4 days a month. But
visiting royalty, visiting royalty. So,
it's
uh,
yes.
so how old are you now, you?
I'm 52 now, 52 years old. Yes.
So, in Europe, the French are rioting because, retirement age was being increased.
Big
And
fight, right? Yeah.
I always like to explain to my American colleagues that the French are specialists at striking. They're very good at it. They know,
They are. They
lots of
definitely
people
are.
go on strike around the world, but they don't really do it in a way that causes any trouble. But the French are experts. I mean, if they go on strike,
Yes, yes.
you're basically paralyzed for a long
And they
while.
know how to make a fire. They know how to make fire, right?
Exactly. So what are you going to do when you're 62 or 70, or will you be still going to Sicily to operate on strangers, or are you going to, one of the podcasts you might want to watch is Fabio Potenti and Kristen, his wife.
Yes. I
Yeah.
follow him on Twitter. He's saving the world, right? Yeah.
Well, he sold his house and bought a catamaran,
Right.
and that's where they
Yes.
live. They
Yes.
are sailing. Then he's one of the YouTube podcasts you can talk to. It's,
Right. I'll
that's a
definitely look
real
into that.
passion there. So what do you, what are your, what's your thinking about retirement, not just from you, but from other people? Do you think people should retire at 60 or 65, or should they work until they're 80?
You know, I I think, when you become like after 50, that's what I noticed. I started thinking about it more, because you see your parents, and my parents are like 20 years older than me. And they are still fit. I'm very happy that my parents are very healthy. They travel the world, they play golf, but by watching them and seeing that they don't move that fast anymore, I think if you're after 50, you earn some money, you have a decent life, but in 20 years you will not be that fit. So I think, maybe like after 60, I will try to see where I am, and see, officially we have to work till 67 in Belgium, but I don't think I will make it till 67. I think like 62, 63, 64. I like to travel. Maybe I'm invited in some places. I will definitely do that. And maybe I will end up in Sicily, operating some people. But I want to enjoy my life after 60. I don't know where after 60, 64, 65. I don't know. I will see Bill Hill tomorrow. If I'm as fit as him at his age, maybe I'm still, traveling with you. I really don't know. I don't know, John, but
Yeah,
I want to enjoy life. And
it's different for
I
everyone,
think
you know.
in Belgium, it's a bit struggle. It's a big struggle because you can have a lot of patients, you can operate a lot of patients, you can earn quite some money, and you have to work hard. I do like sometimes I do clinic on a Saturday, and I see like 50 patients on a Saturday morning. That's crazy, I think, right?
It
So
is
I
crazy.
don't do it a lot. I
Yeah.
don't do it a lot, but sometimes I see also like checkups and everything, and I don't do it a lot, but that's becoming less and less. That's just like the overflow of patients.
Well, and it's all of those questions, how much money exactly do you need? How much
That's
is
it.
enough?
That's
It's never enough,
yes,
number one. Number
yes,
two, even though you think you have enough, when somebody offers you more, it's always,
yes,
if you were working for 15 euros an hour packing fish in a factory, you would not
right,
be
yes,
doing this what you do now. Let's be realistic.
right,
You
right,
earn a lot more money than
yes, yes,
so. So there is a reason, and of course, there's a truism about people is that, you know, whatever they earn, most people spend what they earn. So that, you
Right,
know,
right.
their lifestyle fits their income to a degree. You know, it's the
Right, right,
exceptional
right.
person who is, you know, saving, you know, every penny and still driving their 32-year-old Volvo 144, you know, or whatever it might be, you know.
Yes. Yes, I think that's correct. No, I think that's correct. Yes. No, we should enjoy and I try to spend as much time and more nowadays with my children than when they were young. I was
Sure. Yeah.
away too much, like most of the surgeons probably, but after 50, start thinking about it, I think.
Yeah, you know, I often say to people, which was said to me by a colleague many years ago, surgeons are better grandparents than they are parents, you know.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I
There's,
think I have to agree, probably, yes.
so,
I don't want to be a grandfather yet, you know. I don't want to call it like grandfather Joep yet, you know, because
mm,
then I have to sleep next to the grandmother, you know. That's so
exactly.
let's wait a little bit with that, you know.
So tell me, you know, whenever you hang up your scalpel or your whatever it is, how would you like to be remembered, and how do you think you will be remembered?
Oh, I don't know. I think you have a difficult question. You know, I want to be a teacher, and I want to make, you know, some people made a difference in my life as surgeons. So I hope some people would say, you know, he really changed my way of looking at anatomy and biology, surgery, and then the rest. I hope to be a good husband and a good father, actually, you know. And then I don't believe that I have many friends. I know a lot of people, but I have a few very good friends, and I think, like, you know, spend time with them, and you know, enjoy some good times together. But you know, I hope to be remembered by my children mainly, and some of my residents and fellows I trained, actually. Yes, and some good colleagues. You know, we had great times, and I love to discuss with you. And but we love the time after the meeting as much as we love the meeting, because that's very
Exactly.
precious time to all of us. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it is interesting, you know, how medicine and surgery and everything changes. You know, I'm of an age where when I started training people, we were doing gastrectomies and vagotomies and highly selective vagotomies for a disease that just in my career time doesn't exist anymore. The entire
Right.
not
Yeah.
only does the operation not exist, the disease doesn't exist anymore. And you know, so it
Even
changes, you know.
you know, even for obesity, which is like a big thing, you know, in Europe, especially, or I think also in the US, but it's going down. It's going slowly. It's going down. Surgery for obesity, you know, because medication probably is becoming better. Or I don't know, because I was driving here from the airport to my hotel, and I saw you could have like, can why do you call that, like Kentucky Fried Chicken, 2 meals for €10.
Yeah. Mm.
So why would you go to a decent restaurant if you can buy something for two people for $10, right?
No, for
And
sure,
so this is
you know.
something probably, I think times might be changing a little bit, you know. People are
Yeah,
more
I agree.
into nature and healthy foods, and
It's a
so
big issue in the United States for sure. It is much more expensive to eat healthily than it is to eat.
right, that is right. But
You're,
maybe those diseases like obesity will
yeah,
go down slowly a little bit as well. I don't know. So
yeah.
who knows what the future
So
brings, you know.
I know you're not at the end of your career, and you're probably you I think you've said that you're maybe just going over the
No,
peak.
no, no. I said I'm on a plateau, John. You're
Okay,
wrong about
okay.
that.
So
I don't know
um,
how long my plateau will last. You know, I don't know.
so here you are. You know, you've reached this stellar height. Any regrets in your career to date? Anything that you think you should have done
um,
differently?
no, I don't think so. You know, I always choose for passion and my career, actually, for professional thing. You know, I left the university hospital because I thought it was very hierarchic, if I say it right in English. So it was like, you know, it was very difficult to treat your own patients and
Yeah.
be responsible from the first till the last day, you know, because so I like to be connected to or affiliated with university, but I
Yeah.
like to have my own patients. I don't regret that. I, of course, as a result, I think you have to work harder to make your own name because there's no like, not
Yeah.
like a big group behind you, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't regret that. I like to be innovative, so that's why I started iLapp, and I like to be really teaching in a different way. I think textbooks will disappear.
Yeah.
You know, fellows reading something instead of watching something, like a podcast, will kind of disappear, very rare. The only thing I might regret is that I was not home all the time.
Sure.
Maybe my balance was not always in the right
Yeah.
way, but
I
you
think you
know,
would
I
not
can
be.
learn from that maybe.
I think you would be not alone in that.
No, no,
So, you mentioned that the university structure is quite hierarchical. You know, with the big chief being the big chief, etc. And that's
right.
certainly been my experience in many European countries, Germany, but certainly.
Absolutely, Germany.
So, and it used to be very strongly the situation in the United States, where the chairman of surgery was, all powerful. Firstly, the chairman of
Right.
surgery. Firstly, the chairman of surgery was all powerful, and secondly, the chairman was a chairman, not a woman.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So hierarchy in many European countries in that way has remained quite strong still. So where is diversity and inclusion, and how is that being incorporated, or is it being incorporated in terms of gender diversity, etc., in what has been a very traditional hierarchical model in Europe?
Yeah, of course, I come from the Netherlands. So in the Netherlands is a very open society.
Mhm.
You call your professor with the first name, which in
Yeah,
Belgium it's really impossible.
yeah,
Um, so in the Netherlands, it's a very open society. Sometimes maybe a little bit kind of too open. You know, like um, you don't have to become friends with your professor. You can be
yeah,
respectful and have the same talk. I think in Belgium it's a little bit more like hierarchic, if I say that right. But times are changing. I think it's changing. I think there are definitely more female students than male students now in medical school. I think the candidates we see for fellowship, we saw a few candidates for fellowship for colorectal surgery in my hospital, and all of them were female.
mhm,
So I think that's times are really changing. I think probably women are better organized actually than men. I just speak for myself and for my wife. Actually, she's definitely better organized than myself. And most female surgeons are better when they start. Actually, men seem to be more clumsy, but in the old days more persistent. But I think that changed a lot, and I think we are more thinking about the balance. So I respect my female colleagues very much, and I think it's a very good thing to have a big diversity. On the other hand, in Italy, it's definitely not very much the professor and the other people, and you have to wait till the right moment to learn all the little steps of surgery, and
yeah,
then of course it's a very familiar society. You have to know people in where I work, maybe not in like the big cities like Rome and Milan, and but in a pretty small island, although they have around 5 million people,
yeah.
it's still you know the people. But times are changing. I think it's a good thing actually. So
I
very good thing.
Many years ago, more than 20 years ago. No, it was about 20 years ago. I had an Italian trainee in when I was in England, and
Right.
I was walking along with him one day, and I was asking him, what life was like in his
Right.
hospital. In
Right.
Actually, he was in Sicily, but he was in Palermo.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
and he said to me, I said, "What do you do all day, each day?" And he said to me, "Thursday is my best day." And I said, "Okay." I said, Why is Thursday when you operate?" And he goes, "No, no, no, no. Thursday is my best day because that's the day I drive the professor." And I went,
Yes.
"Wait, what?" And he said, "I drive the professor and can talk to him
Right.
because
Right.
he will make me succeed."
Ah, yes.
Mm.
Well, that's a bit, in Italy, it's a bit that way. I come in and they say, "Hi, prof, how are you?" And they try to come to Belgium and spend like 3 months or 6 months, and they're very welcome. But sometimes you operate and you look behind you, you see like six residents behind you just for a sometimes pretty simple operation,
And
And
they don't really do much operating.
no, they don't operate. They have to wait a long time. Now, in
Exactly.
Belgium, it's a big difference from the Netherlands also for nurses. In Belgium, the nurse will never um, I call you by your first name. While in the Netherlands, it's all the same. It's your first name for everybody.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think that's a very good thing because you are like a team player, and it's a
for
very good
sure.
thing. But in Belgium, although you say, please call me Joep, and call me by my first name, they say, it's impossible, it's not how we're trained. So
Yeah.
yes,
No, it is at the same time a small world and yet a world full of many differences. Uh,
yes, yes.
for sure.
That's the interesting thing, I think, to travel a little bit and operate in different countries
Yes.
and see what happens. I'm invited now to go and operate in Bratislava, which is the main capital of Slovakia, and I will go there for like 4 times a year. That's what they ask, and they have a beautiful new hospital there, and I'm really looking forward to see how it works in another country, because I
Yeah.
think that's very interesting to see, actually. Yeah.
Well, tomorrow you're going to sit at the feet of the master of Bill Heald, etc. And
Right.
please, he is actually going to join this podcast sometime in the next couple of weeks. We've tried to do it a few times,
Nice.
but of course he's so busy.
Yeah.
He's struggling to fit me in. So please remind him when you see him tomorrow that
I
he
will.
owes me.
I will tell that to him. Yes, I
And
will
in the
say.
meantime, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening. I'm sorry to have you so late.
No, no, I'm very honored, John, to be invited, and it's very nice to talk about something different than just the scalpel and everything and suture. So I think, and very difficult cases, who's the best in the multidisciplinary meetings. I think this is very interesting. I
So
hope people enjoy
I
this.
will let you know when we're going to go live with it.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Thank you very much.